today's highlight with
New geisha with extracts from Mother Nature.
Killed Innocencia. I'm not just gonna sit here. He's gonna pay for the life of Innocencia.
You have no proof it was him. In any case, even if it were, what are you gonna do? Huh?
If you want your husband to stay right beside you, take care of your daughter. Otherwise, I'll make Alejandro leave you.
This is Lucho Vampa, my future husband.
They're your dad. You've got to include your son Fernando too.
My mom always wants what's best for us. That's why she uses new geisha with extracts from nature. New geisha with extracts from Mother Nature.
And the change of government won't stop a thing. I've run out of fingers counting the number of multinationals setting up here.
What about the 3 companies that announced their plans to launch last week?
I say they're shopping. Me, I'd be looking to sell.
At what price?
More. Much, much more.
I don't know who you are or how you know these things, but one thing I'm sure of, you're in the wrong job. Here, call me tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to hear more from you.
Are you ready for your big break? The East African, understanding the region.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
If it's your job to eat a frog, the best part of the day to do that is very early in the morning. And if it's your job to eat 2 frogs, make sure you eat the biggest one first. And I hope that for the next 2 hours, you're going to be served with the biggest frog right here on Morning at NTV. My name is Brian Mlondo, Mabel, Simon, Joel, all standing by to make sure that this is going to be one of the best mornings of your week. Let's get started with the question of the day. Good morning. Well, make sure you help us answer that question. Very simple. All you have to do is head over to our Facebook page, Morning at NTV, like it. About 11,000 people like the page. Tweet us, Morning at NTV, and you can tag me at MBGold2, at Mebkeb, at Kasiate, at Joel Senyonya Daka Bachigongo, and of course at NTV Uganda. And the first 5 respondents will walk away with this beautiful mag, courtesy of Morning at NTV. You can have some beautiful coffee in, your office, and looking at bird's eye view of the pool and just sounding so intelligent, and, and I'm telling you, you'll be a winner this morning. The SMS platform is also available. Send the answer to 6565. I'm feeling good today, and so let's head to Mabel, who will give us the stories that are making headlines. And when we come back, the press review and the big story. Good morning.
Well, good morning. Thank you for joining us this Thursday. I don't know about eating frogs. I don't think I'd want to try one on a Thursday morning. But on to the stories making headlines. 82 illegal Somali immigrants have been deported. The Ministry of Justice is seeking 8.1 billion shilling supplementary budget, and Honorable Amama Mbabazi speaks out as controversy continues to swell over the leaked tapes.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
82 illegal Somali immigrants were deported back to Somalia, becoming the first batch to face such action in the ongoing Operation Usalama Watch. The government has come down hard on illegal immigrants, seeing several transferred to refugee camps in the north of the country. On Wednesday, however, the gates of the heavily guarded Safaricom Stadium Kasarani were open to the press and other agencies for a spot check on the activities going on inside.
Operation Usalama Watch deported the first lot of individuals today. The 82 Somali nationals left the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport for Mogadishu this morning, just 6 days into the operation. Interior Cabinet Secretary Joseph Olelenku led a tour of the Safaricom Stadium Kasarani, finally giving the media, UNHCR and the Kenya National Commission of Human Rights an inside look of the screening activities. At first glance, the quarters look like any other government office, with queues of individuals giving information and even getting a hot meal, with security organs maintaining that the stadium has not at any one time served as a detention facility.
I can assure you that all the nights that we have been screening prisoners, from the day we started, no prisoner has left in this place.
Kimayo explained that police had taken steps to gazette the stadium as a police station as early as April 2nd. Well, just looking at the numbers, 101 individuals have gone through screening today at the Safaricom Stadium Kasarani. They represent just under a quarter of the 472 individuals who are still in police custody. Now, 6 days into the operation, already 82 Somali nationals have been deported back to Somalia. However, since the operation began, human rights activists have said it leaves a lot to be desired, and even after the tour, criticized the government for carrying out an opaque process. A view Attorney General Professor Gibu Muigai begs to differ with.
I regret that it is not feasible to conduct a security of operation of this magnitude and this seriousness in the full glare of the media.
Though the inquisitive members of the Fourth Estate come off as a bother to the operation, raving football fans who made their way into the stadium for a match a little later in the afternoon did not seem to be a disruption. And in Isli, that has been the breeding ground of scathing allegations of bribery and police harassment, the exercise carried on.
Mimi kwa ID nasema toeni pesa, nasema 10,000 na natoa wapi? Sitaki sharia, nataka pesa.
Ukiwa na ID wanakuja wanakuambia sisi we don't care who you are. As long as you're Somali, uko na ID, usipokuwa na ID utatupatia pesa.
The claims, however, are proving no barrier to the government as the operation proceeds full steam ahead.
The whole exercise will continue until we do not have illegal aliens.
Victoria Rubadiri, NTV.
The Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs are seeking an 8.1 billion shilling supplementary budget to cater for the arbitration cases against Heritage Oil and Gas Limited and Talo Uganda in London. In its justification, the ministry says the budgetary constraints in the past financial year could not adequately provide for the 3 high-profile cases. However, members on the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee expressed reservations to a possible budgetary increase, saying that a lot of uncertainty surrounds the outcome of these cases.
This capital gains tax, which was assessed, because I know government approved the transfer to Sunuk and Qatar. Where is this money?
The Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs has asked Parliament to acknowledge an 8.1 billion budget supplement that will see Government of Uganda spend close to 3.26 billion shillings filed by Heritage Oil Gas Limited and Talo Uganda. An additional 4.86 billion will go towards settling court awards and compensation. The Talo heritage battle dates back to 2010 when the Ugandan government demanded more than 1 trillion in capital gains tax after Heritage Oil sold assets in the East African country to Talo in a $1.5 billion deal. The case is now under arbitration in London. Government Attorney General Peter Nyombi had a tough time trying to convince the committee to grant a 20% increase, with members expressing skepticism over government's ability to win the cases.
If we lose it, we will. Yes. Now, let's be honest with our now. I hope you are telling us the truth. We shall take up this matter of the supplementary with the Treasury.
It may be difficult at this point for me to tell you how much we have gained by winning that court issue. But the important thing you should know, we won and managed to protect the $434 million US. The principle was laid, and that principle is going to affect all the other oil companies. And that's a lot of money.
If the Attorney General had won the entire heritage case, that's when he would talk of saving the country. But he says he has won partly. But what if those other legs? What if the arbitration comes up to say, pay money in respect of the delay to consent to the transaction, or you changed your legal regime? So in other words, if the stabilization clause comes into effect, how much money shall we have paid?
Members of the committee were also dissatisfied as the country faces a pending court case in which Heritage sued Uganda for change in laws and delays by government to give consent to transfer of Heritage's interests to Talo.
Tell us how much they saved us, but also how much they got from our pocket, and whether we are likely or we're going to recover it from the person who took us to court.
So you cannot say we have saved when those other two still remain and they have a monetary implication.
Nyombi, however, maintains that the funds are needed to prop the country's legal position in the cases. He notes that the arbitration team has so far posted great success, said to have a wider positive impact on oil operations in Uganda.
That case affects even other oil companies. We are not looking at 434, but it affects even the other oil companies we are dealing with.
Government is further grappling with two separate cases in which Talo in October of 2012 sued objecting to a breach of a contract exemption when it failed to waive taxes or a refund of the money on the import of the company's goods into the country. Uganda could cough out $339 million if this case is lost. The committee is set to determine the fate of the ministry regarding this matter on Tuesday next week. Shiland Wuchre, NTV, Parliament.
The Prime Minister Mama Mbabazi has spoken out as controversy continues to swirl over the leaked tapes which revealed the Inspector General of Police, General Kale Kaihura, making unsavory comments about him. While responding to comments from the leader of opposition, Mbabazi said the police must build a reputation that is respected across the political spectrum.
As the ruling party attempts to paper over the cracks within its armory, the recently released tapes where the Inspector General of Police General Kale Kaihura makes unsavory comments about the Premier and his wife has shaken the NRM to its foundation. During the plenary chaired by Deputy Speaker Jacob Bolanya, the controversy over the tapes resurfaced. Chadondo East MP Ibrahim Semuju Nganda asked Mbabazi why Kaihura was meddling in the internal affairs of political parties. Mbabazi was hesitant in responding until the leader of opposition, Wafula Gutu, asked him to comment about the leaked tapes.
They are sending anxiety among the public, and there's no doubt that the government owes citizens an explanation.
Breaking his silence on the matter, Mbabazi, in a thinly veiled salvo towards the police, said the force under Kaihura should build a reputation respected across the political spectrum.
The police, the police,
Mbabazi avoided to be directly sucked into the marked details of the tapes which underpin the cloak and target games within the ruling party inner sanctum.
It is an institution that must serve all Ugandans, irrespective of their political inclination.
However, Mbabazi said the police should serve all Ugandans irrespective of its political affiliation.
Irrespective of their sectarian identity. This is obvious. Okay?
The image of police recently has come under the spotlight after the Prime Minister's wife, Jacqueline Mbabazi, accused Kaihura of arresting supporters loyal to Mbabazi on trumped-up charges and orchestrating a smear campaign against the Premier with the help of a riff-raff security operatives. The opposition has often criticized police for clamping down on civil liberties and freedom to assemble. Maurice Ochol, NTV at Parliament.
And that's all we had for you from the newsroom. We now go to Brian, Joel and Simon to find out what's making news in today's newspapers.
Press Review is brought to you by Uganda Telecom. It's all about you.
Thursday, April the 10th. 2014, it's your usual morning press review coming to you from the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel, morning at NTV. My name is Simon Kasiate with Joel and Brian. This morning we're all flipping through the pages of the Daily Monitor and of course the red paper. And without going to the headline of the Daily Monitor this morning, I am moved by a story on page 6. Of course, the usual story that's been playing out in the media for the last so many months. This is the Mbabazi situation. But now, from Parliament yesterday, the Premier said the Inspector General of Police is doing his job and performing his duties pretty well. Let's not forget that there has been fingers of accusations between the Mbabazi camp, especially led by his dear wife Jacqueline, who accuses the Inspector General of Police of malice aforethought, political interference, and all sorts of things, including nicknaming him a moniker, Afande Tiagas. But the Prime Minister, in his usual suave and debonair style, but always acting with tact and detachment, responded to lawmakers who asked him what the standoff is all about. He just responded as saying, the police chief is doing his job as mandated by the law.
I wish the same would, I'm not sure his wife would reiterate his words. It would be interesting to ask her what she thinks about this.
Well, let's note that his wife is his wife and is not the Prime Minister, nor is she the Secretary General of the party.
I'm not saying she is. I'm just saying
the
wife has a mind of her own and her own opinion.
They share a bed and share some children and grandchildren.
That's precisely the point that I'm making, because she seems to see things differently. I think he sees things differently too, yeah. But
and I think
like you say,
things differently.
he is a diplomat. He, comes off with this gentlemanly grandeur and tries to take things in stride. Doesn't come out very easy. Sometimes you need to watch him very, very carefully to actually know what is this man up to and that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm not sure he believes what he is saying, but there you have it. Speaking of Mbabazi, we have always said and warned on this show, and the red paper breaks it. I'll stand in 2016. Mbabazi leaks his secret plan to an MP, that is Paul Mwiru. While they were in Parliament, Paul Mwiru is like, we in the opposition are on pressure. Tell us so that we can support you. And Mbabazi just said yes. I will stand in 2016 for MP, for Secretary General, against the President.
No. That's what the red paper says. No, listen.
I think they've added a bit of
what has happened here? Mbabazi has said he will not stand against President Museveni in 2016. I have not heard anyone saying that he will not stand in 2016 as president.
But can I read that? The red paper says, Paul Mwiru, as Right Honorable, you are keeping us nervous. We in the opposition, please let us know whether you are going to stand against Museveni so that we may support you. The Prime Minister responded to Mwiru's question by signaling a tick sign in the air with his index finger. So what does that mean? The reaction attracted prolonged interaction between the two and banter. And I can guarantee you a few days from now we'll find a very good explanation for that. It's a good lawyer.
Before we get out of this, is someone looking at the ideological bankruptcy of our opposition? So all along they have been there opposing for the last 30 years, and now they're looking out for any element from within the NRM to jump out, and then they support them.
Oh come on, they're just pulling his leg. I don't think he actually meant that. He's just pulling his leg, trying to get words out of him so that the stage is safe.
Joel, let's be honest here. No, let's look at the opposition in their face. Do you think the opposition, as it currently stands, is the biggest threat to President Museveni or the NRM?
Without a doubt, it's not. That is clear to everybody. I don't think anyone is.
To be very honest with you, and sorry if I'm so dumb, maybe this is my blonde moment. I actually thought they were serious guys. I thought people like Paul Mwiru would be thinking of propping themselves, and a guy like Paul should really stand for the presidency. Why wouldn't he? He has his he's got his brain screwed properly on his shoulder. Why wouldn't he stand for the president? Why does he have to wait to become a little charlatan and a little minion?
Well, perhaps from this side of the coin, there's also an imaginary queue. You don't want to jump in. We'll ask him 10 years from today. Does it have to take someone who has come out of the ranks of President Museveni to actually compete against him in any election? Not just someone who has been in mainstream opposition for all this time. And that's why the opposition is looking for anyone. They hang on to Dr. Besigye. They hang on.
He's now reached his sell by date. Now they are looking out for anyone.
They hang on to General Muntu. They hang on to Rubaramira, who has now, you know, the prodigal son. Has he actually ever been a potential threat? But look, But those are the people that have literally made.
All right, now let's stop discussing this politics, which never brings any food on our table.
Oh, it does. Ask MPs. They're about to get a pay rise. What are you talking about?
Well, there they are, busy trying to kill the same cow that feeds them by banning an industry that, for the most part, has been paying incredible taxes.
Oh, come on.
Anyway,
We're talking about the tobacco industry.
Well, looking at we're talking about taxes. The headline of the Daily Monitor this morning is a screaming one. Queries as URA pays ghost farms some 12 billion Ugandan shillings. Now, let's not forget that the kicker is saying that the Auditor General asked the tax body to explain the alleged financial indiscipline involving the loss of billions of shillings to tax evasion, fraud, and unexplained payments to ghost suppliers. So here we are being, what's the word, lampooned or...
Let's go with that.
Being lampooned by the URA, according to Joel's word, and squeezing...
Or gazumped.
Gazumped by the, by the URA. They're trying to suck every little penny we can possibly get in taxes. Why? Because they have huge targets to meet by the government. And there they are, paying out some 12 billion Ugandan shillings in unexplained transactions. I think this is a story that we need to keep very closely our eyes on, and it can only be reported in the Daily Monitor. Get yourself a copy.
Look, over time, the URA has done its best to try and rid the URA of confusion and everything that marred what it was like. You remember there's a 17-day probe, which by the way, fell apart because eventually it was annulled by the High Court. But I think they've tried to do a commendable job. Truth is, there still are challenges internally there. You know, even talking one-on-one with some of the employees of URA, you realize that there are still issues. Yeah, so it's still a bit of an uphill task, but they've so far done a commendable job. Albeit they need to sort out, of course, these that are still raising their ugly heads. They're trying to work on a project where they're going to centralize literally most of their offices in one place at Nakawa. They have this amazing plan of a 22-floor building, which I guess will make work more easier. Staff will be there. They have all these facilities that are designed to keep staff at their job so that they feel...
What, like gyms, swimming pools,
gyms, daycare.
And this is the plan, yeah?
This is a plan.
This is a plan.
I'll tell you why Ugandans to cost a lot of money, but I think it will help in streamlining some of their work. I'll tell you why Ugandans do not like URA. Why? Because...
We like URA, don't we?
But, well, I've spoken to a good number of Ugandans. They do not like it, and I think it's an issue of... them actually pointing their guns to the wrong person. Yeah, it's because at the end of the day, they don't see service delivery. They think we are forking out lots of money to pay our taxes. But look, URA is mandated only to collect. Yeah, so our guns should be pointed at whoever is meant to put this money to very good use.
Maybe the issue is that they tax a small percentage of the population to subsidize the livelihood of the majority of Ugandans.
I don't think
you
so.
Look at the
Even
tax
the poor man does pay.
Joel, I keep telling you, yeah, you can come here, grandstand, and show that you love the poor man, but I can tell you the biggest yoke on my shoulder is the poor man who wakes up in the morning, sits by that wonderful tarmac road in Tirinyi or in Ryantonde, just to feel the smoldering heat from it in the morning, as opposed to going to do some very serious work to feed himself
some that
and
just dancing all over the place. And
when you say some, I want us to quantify some. I can tell you, Joel, there are fewer people waking up in the morning to go and do a meaningful job that will make themselves better and contribute to national development.
People, I don't think so.
But the majority of people, many of whom are even watching us, just to wake up to do nothing and wait to depend and feed and suck from those of us who wake up very early in the morning to do a decent job. And my appeal is that we should all wake up and go and do some work. The moment we all do this, the collective sum of all our work will reduce the amount of yoke that we carry from such bodies as the tax body.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. Yeah, albeit let's not run away from the fact that youth unemployment, for example, is at 80%, yeah? And then we keep telling these people, you know, leave campus, go and create jobs.
There is youth unemployment, but there's also this youth unemployability. I have tried to some of these young people, and I can tell you, most of them are...
But how many have you tried? There's a good number of young people out there that have got their actual...
I am so unlucky. I am so unlucky that I, as Simon, with my wide spaghetti kind of connection network, I only meet the wrong youth who are simply incompetent and have a bad attitude towards work.
I hope that doesn't tell us about who you are. The Bible says show your friends and I tell you who you are.
But I can tell you many people.
It's true that guys who have completed university and can't even say, they can't even have a simple conversation with you.
That's true.
English
and some of them even have first-class degree.
How did you even pass your
That's
exam?
true, but you see, that's not true for everybody. I think there's young people out there that are well-meaning, that I would like to do something. They're trying their hands on a couple of things, but it's not as easy. Let's be realistic about it. Let's be cognizant of that.
Nobody said it were easy. If it were easy, we would all be riding.
No, what I mean in terms of availability of what to do, I should cut some of these.
So there's someone who's supposed to create those opportunities.
We should, as a country, we should. We certainly should, without a doubt.
We're talking about opportunities. Here we are, the European Union. I love that place.
You do?
Says aid cut over gays law is unhelpful.
Finally.
This man must have his ex-girlfriends. You know, he used to work at the EU, so he tells us...
No, I know that these are extremely reasonable development partners who go through a lot of thinking before they make a position or stand on a position. They are not like some of their colleagues in the development world who are suffering from an exaggerated sense of self-worth, who think that they run the world, who think that their ways should be everyone's ways, who don't think that they should negotiate with others on equal terms, who think that their development aid is what was the best thing that ever happened in this country after sliced bread. I mean, look, and guess what? The EU is the biggest development partner in this country.
And here they're saying aid cut over gays, law unhelpful.
Exactly, they are saying that these 28 member states, these are countries, 28 of them, they're saying, look, rather than cut aid, there could be other ways of trying to sort out this disagreement on the modus of this law, as opposed to trying to dangle this whole thing of we help you, so you must suck up to, you know, whatever we say.
And you know, nobody gives you aid to ameliorate you, to make your life better, to make you rich. It's not going to happen, yeah? We probably need to get to a point where we can negotiate better trading terms. That will mean we don't need much of their aid. But you see, as Africa, we are very disorganized. We all the time we spend much of our time as countries quibbling over pennies.
And you see, why I like about it, even most importantly, is that they recognize the strategic importance of Uganda and by extension President Yoweri Museveni. And here they say in this report,
realize our advantage and our potential.
The EU says Museveni is a strategic security ally in the Great Lakes region. They recognize that and they're willing to discuss with him and relate with him on the basis of the fact that he's a strategic ally. As opposed to those who threaten, we will not give you aid, then the next morning they are sending two ill-trained, well, anyway, and search for a warlord that doesn't pose even a potential threat to a marauding chicken in La Champagne, where the war was so high. Honestly speaking, I think
this must be a boost to us, and I think the Minister of Foreign Affairs, you know, he's been all over the place trying to meet all his delegates, engage them on.
Well, the Minister of Foreign Affairs now shut to diplomacy is now in their backyard in Washington, but I think he's in the wrong place anyway.
Yeah, but ultimately, I think aid should not be good for us. It has, you know, in many ways, cushioned us for quite a while, but I think we need to grow up.
There have been allegations that government, well, we were talking about unemployment, but where there is employment, we make accusations and allegations of unfair play in terms of employment. And this is playing out in the backyard of the police. There are, you know, some eyebrows raised as to the effect of regional balance in police recruitment. The police is faced with allegations, or at least assumptions by sections of the community, that they are recruiting for the most part from certain select parts of the country. And yes, our very good friend, the newly appointed police spokesperson, Fred Nanga, is splashing out the police recruitment statistics as of the district for you to take a look and then make your informed accusation if you must.
Supreme Court to hear Lukwago plea tomorrow, so the curtains are going to come down or go up tomorrow. It will be interesting to hear what happens.
Well, talking about police recruitment and all that, you know, the police says they advertise for vacancies in the police, but then you find some sections or some parts of the country where people look at the job of a police officer as something below perhaps their social standard. So you find there are some communities which don't want to send their own to join the police, and when they realize that it's lucrative and they have no jobs, they begin to complain and say, look, we were not considered. What's the police supposed to do?
But also to give credit to
arrest people to join the police.
But they do have all these recruitments where they call people to, you know, and they take them through medical examinations. When you fail, you get out. That's the thing. But ideally, for the most part,
when they tell them do good match, they begin modeling.
For the most part, we know half of the Uganda police force and the army has people from one part of the
west.
Country.
You mean?
Not the west, the north. And
are you not talking about Askaris?
not askari.
These ones that Kasat is having
and that's
issues
something
with.
that is traditional. That
security.
was, you know, that started way back.
Well, monies. Members of Parliament are querying the Attorney General's extra 3 billion cash for the London oil cases. Now, let's remember that there were a number of cases that were arbitrated or had in London, these cases that were involving Talo, Heritage Oil, and the government of Uganda. So MPs are querying how some 3 billion shillings extra was spent in sorting out these cases. Now, someone should also start querying the amounts of money that are spent on MPs' trips themselves. Because even for these cases to take place, there were MPs on this list. I do not know
Yesterday we had issues with their Somalia trip.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, anyway, members of Parliament, God bless you.
This 3 billion shillings, and you'll help me, you know, understand. Is it to pay the lawyers because say it's arbitration, you know, fee?
An interesting development here, and that's why it's very important for our viewers to exactly look at how this is played out when they get themselves a copy of the Daily Monitor this morning.
Okay.
Let's get into the inner pages. Heart to Heart magazine is in here in the Daily Monitor. Let's not forget that Heart to Heart is your #1 companion pull-out that you always check out for on Thursdays. An interesting headline story there in Heart to Heart.
For single people or for married people?
Well,
I believe you're either single or married. I don't care whether you're
in
dating or whether you're single, searching,
or married in plural,
and almost suicidal like some people. You're either single or married.
Well, there's an interesting story here of a blind gentleman married to a sightful woman having a blissful marriage. And the title is aptly, Out of Sight but Not Quite Out of Love. Look at this story of enduring love where disability in one form does not make you unable to love, and on the other hand, be loved equally. It's in Heart to Heart this morning.
Something bizarre here as well. Police arrests a bridegroom at traditional ceremony. Now, this suspect had allegedly stole 5 goats to pay as bride price, but sold off 2 before the traditional introduction ceremony. Now, I know we laugh and we might think, okay, this guy, he should get his game together. But you see, I'll reiterate what I said here some early morning where I sparked a lot of fun. People are telling me, hey, Joel, what is wrong with you? I think parents need to get reasonable, especially parents of our dear sisters whom we are supposed to marry, you know. Then they should get reasonable. They should be parents. When a guy has probably been out of school, he's been working a few years, and here you are asking him for some of the most outlandish things, I don't know, land title and all these crazy things, it is just not right.
Well, those things, eh?
Everyone in life wants a good life. We all love to live in double-storied mansions, drive wonderful cars on our not car-worthy roads and all that. But you do not go out of your way to steal to get yourself a good life.
Justifying it in any way.
But there are people who will go and maybe pimp their cars, and then the guy brings it to the girl's home on that day and says, I have bought the girl a car. And after the ceremony, they return the car or borrow a Benz.
Because of the pressures. And some have actually gone ahead to get loans.
That's the one dishonesty bit that I keep talking about.
Without a doubt.
People live trying to live beyond their means or trying to impose. You know, for the most part, many people, especially Ugandan young people around our generation, they want to go out and appease a certain public that they think is out watching for how they are living.
Which doesn't care, doesn't even like them.
Absolutely. So live within your means, live according to what you think is most comfortable for you. Don't try to appease people. I mean, someone releases one song, badly made song, claims to be a celebrity and is trying to live a very huge life like he's a bit of some Michael Jackson. You will definitely sink.
Somebody told me the other day that, Joel, I'll live within my means even if I have to borrow to do so.
Well, I love that.
Well, you remember Sematimba, and a very interesting feature here on him in the red paper. Sematimba's paper is challenged again.
Oh no.
He got the Pacific Post Technical Institute that was awarded in 1988, and it was never verified by the National Council of Higher Education.
He has a couple of interesting, diploma here, I don't know, certificate here.
Yeah,
well, the Daily Monitor this morning on page 9 is reporting about journalists' protest against the raid of media houses. Let's not forget that very recently the police did raid Voice of Kigezi to try and stop a talk show from proceeding. Now the Human Rights Network for Journalists of Uganda is protesting this kind of draconian action, and this sets the preamble for our big story this morning. We will be discussing government versus the media. Well, in this case, I think I don't know whether I may not even interview her, because clearly I do not have that practicing certificate paid for by 200,000 Ugandan shilling.
Do you have it here?
No, I do not, and I haven't paid it. Not because I can't afford it, but I am yet to know where I can pay it and why it should be paid.
Yeah.
And those will be the questions that we'll be asking her when she comes on. Now, as we wrap up, of course, as always, we love our toys. I keep saying that, we the men and even the women. So in my car magazine this morning, in the Daily Monitor, who owns what in the auto industry? So when you see someone driving a little Premio but with a sign at the back, E200, get to know what
a friend of mine has a Pajero but put an Apple sign. So I'm like, hey, Apple started making Pajeros.
Well, there we are.
They put Lexus.
As we close it up in the sports section, there is very interesting sports news coming in from the field of football, athletics, basketball. Mention it. Of course, not to mention to you those who did not brave yesterday's football. Barcelona was stopped by Athletic Madrid, if I'm right. And of course, Manchester United did shock Bayern Munich by scoring them first, only for Bayern Munich to respond in equal valor and beating them 3-1. Sad debacle. Of course, this was as expected as was not surprising to David Moyes and his
He didn't
legion
see
of
this
fans.
one coming again.
Does he ever see anything?
Let's take a short break. When we return, it's the big story. We're looking at the media, how it is playing, and what government regulation there is to allow it smooth playing, and what relationship there should be going forward with this new mooted legislation. Thank you very much.
Dial star 100 hash, select Chize and get the total amount you spend in a month refunded. This refund can be used for calls and SMSs to all networks for the next 30 days from Uganda's most affordable telecom service, Uganda Telecom. It's all about you.
Every idea we have begins with you. The way you connect.
Good morning.
How you browse. How you share. And how you interact with the world around you.
Your relationship with your God is the most important thing. Have a company of people who have got a similar mind.
How do you want people to think, feel, and act after your talk? In other words, what's your objective?
You inspire everything. Because in the end, innovation doesn't really matter unless it does something that really matters to you. And we are HTC.
These are the men who cheated death in a blazing train wagon.
I got a room in that wagon where it is a hall.
Behind me is the spot where over 70 people lost their lives.
The widows that tell the story like it was yesterday.
Alafu nyuma yake kama ashakufa. Waliua bwana yangu huko.
Those with psychological scars.
They started killing me. 300 strokes.
The perspective of a former rebel that is now an acclaimed hero.
It was just a provocation. The field commander that was Francis Erego, nicknamed Hitler.
And a counselor with no sight but a broad vision. We bring you stories of deep emotion, shattered dreams, despair, and inspiration. Starting this April on Life Stories.
You can bring everybody in parliament as long as they can wake up and vote for the NRM.
As long as the voters exercise their rights to elect their leaders, there was no need for term limits in Uganda.
I know him. I know how he operates. I know how he thinks.
There are ways you can go around these obstacles.
Why should I conduct myself as if I am Muyai?
It's absolutely true. I admired President Museveni.
Is the ICC a first code targeting African leaders?
You cannot tell me that the whole trouble Kenya had revolved about only 2 individuals.
The money is not in the budget of this financial year.
You can't beat God. You see, God is polygamous also. Look at Jeremiah chapter 31.
The security of this country
will largely depend on the contribution that the people make.
She was molested when she was 6 by someone she trusted.
The doctors finally walked into the door. They basically were telling me that she had a 5% chance of living.
I couldn't understand how somebody that tells you they loved you, that held you as a child, could abuse you.
Tommy Scott grew up among gang violence, drugs, and poverty in the projects of South Central Los Angeles.
I felt not normal, not good. I wasn't lovable.
As a teen, Melissa discovered that drinking gave some relief.
Tommy is free today and continues to tell people that it was Jesus who changed his life.
The time I spent in prison, I spent putting my ideas together on, how I was going to come back and make it all right.
And I realized my purpose, that I was created to reflect the glory of God.
Duke now realizes why God kept him alive.
These were real people facing desperate situations, just like you and me.
Jesus died to set you free, and he can give you a new heart.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
If you haven't yet followed us on Facebook, please go to your Facebook page, look for Morning at NTV, click the like button, and you will start following us, knowing what is happening, and you'll be able to take part in the big story which is happening right now. We turn over to Simon for today's big story.
A very good morning once again. It's the 10th day of April 2014. It's the big story as always. Now, we'll start from the point where I think I'll be a little bit lighter than I always am on the big story. I'll try to be very cordial. I'll try to be very, very nice to my guest. Simply for one reason. Perhaps even if I can afford the 200,000 shillings that's mooted as practicing people, journalists, if I am harsh to this particular guest I have this morning, I may not be allowed to practice journalism. So you'll understand and realize I am trying to get my bread buttered the right way. Come on, we're just kidding here. Anyway, we're talking about the mooted legislation to allow for journalists to be recognized through registration. Now, according to the new legislation or regulation issued by the Information and National Guidance Minister, in a statutory instrument entitled the Press and Journalists Fees Regulations 2014, journalists will have to pay some 200,000 for a practicing certificate and 100,000 for renewing the certificate every year. So the 200,000 is a once-off, and going forward every year you'll be paying 100,000. The new regulation requires journalists to pay some 5,000 as application for enrollment, some 30,000 for a certificate of enrollment. Furthermore, to have this certificate entered on the register of journalists, the journalists will have to pay some 50,000. Are you getting the figures here? We start off from 200,000 as a once-off, then pay 100,000 shillings every year. Then now you'll be required to pay some 5,000 for application to enrollment, some 30,000 to get the certificate of enrollment, then you have to pay some 50,000 to be gazetted in the journalists register. Well, long and short, for the most part, journalism has been one trade where anybody thinks it's a place where anyone can ply their trade. We've got comedians, we've got all sorts of artisans, we've got all sorts of people claiming and even practicing journalism. This has been a huge concern, not only to we, the bona fide journalists, or am I one anyway, and the government that's supposed to regulate journalistic practice. On the other hand, the regulation of government on journalistic practice has been seen by some as stifling the realms of freedom of expression and speech. In other words, an affront to a fundamental human right. What exactly is playing out here? Is it the need for regulation, or is it a government that is trying to muzzle further the space for free expression of views and ideas? This morning, to discuss all that and more, we have with us the Minister of Information, mark these words, Information and National Guidance. We need a lot of guidance as a country. Honorable Rose Namayanja, good morning and welcome to the big story.
Morning to you and morning viewers and everybody.
From where I sit, this is how I understand your new statutory instrument. Sure. But from where you sit, enlighten us a little bit more. We are receiving loads of complaints. Is government trying to muzzle journalism? Is government putting in place draconian needs that will make otherwise well-meaning good journalists unable to meet this fee and therefore fall off the flock? What exactly is government doing by putting in place such a regulation?
First of all, I have to say from the start that the intention is well-meaning. This is not a new law per se. As you've noted, it is a statutory instrument arising out of a law that was made 20 years ago, in 1995, the Press and Journalists Act.
Yes.
And if all had been done at that time, maybe we wouldn't even be doing it now. But I want to say that the spirit upon which this comes is to sanitize the profession.
Wait, right there, as they say, Simba Wakatiao, sanitize the profession. If it's not broken, why fix it? What has so broken in journalism that requires sanitization?
Simon, this is your trade, you have been in it. And you have
well, the viewers are not journalists themselves.
You have put it rightly, that this is the only country, and indeed it is the most, I would say, adulterated profession, that anyone can be a journalist. We're not saying people shouldn't
aspire to be journalists.
For instance, it was my dream when I was at school to be a lawyer. But I happened not to do law at Makerere. I did the social sciences.
Welcome to our club.
But I couldn't, I couldn't go to the bar because I didn't have the requisite qualification.
Yes.
But I went back because it was a lifelong dream. I went back to the law school, did my degree in law, and I can now comfortably say I'm a lawyer by profession. In the same spirit we are saying, if you really want journalism, if you've picked it as a passion along the way, can you get the requisite, qualifications?
But wait a minute right there. What are the requisite qualifications here beyond an academic qualification? Is it this 200,000 you're asking us to pay?
No. Because surely if you come and you are an engineer, we shall not register as a journalist. That means that you'll have to say, let me go and do some. We have very many that have actually, who are not journalists at all, but along the way they chose to be, and went back and did either a postgraduate diploma or any certificate in journalism or public relations, and is now doing it. Secondly, we want to know...
I'm already scared here. I'm looking at you and I'm looking at myself. I'm looking at my academic qualifications and my practice, and I realize I am actually not a journalist per your description. My first degree is in social sciences. My second degree is in international relations and diplomacy. I have not even once studied any journalism course, and yet I have done it for 15 years.
Yeah,
is that my 15 years practice equivalent to qualification?
That can constitute really practice.
Yeah, but you see, if someone had called Namayanja in 2000 when I started, then I would not have possibly made it beyond my 2000th year because I did not have the qualification.
You would certainly go and get some skill somewhere. And I want to say, even knowing, because the journalists have many issues. I've traversed this country. I went to the north, I went to the west, I went to the east, I've been here in the central. They also have issues.
E.g.?
E.g., poor pay. In Imbarela, I was there just...
You don't even have to explain it a lot. Poor pay, they understand. But why doesn't government look at those issues as opposed to trying to sanitize the profession itself?
Let us organize ourselves and know who these journalists are. I'll give you an example. First of all, it's not new. In other jurisdictions, it's there. In Kenya, I just go on their website and I say, Kenya has 2,600 journalists.
And they are doing this and they are located here and...
Yes, everybody, they are editors. And for them, they are more organized because they, by the way, in the 90s, Kenyans would come here for benchmarking on issues of the press and journalism. Today we are going back to Kenya. It is us going to Kenya for benchmarking. In Kenya, you'll find them having the Journalists Association, very organized, not this one, where police has to take tear gas to elect. They have the Editors Guild at various levels. They have the Editors Guild. They have a very strong media council and so many other issues. So we are saying let us
But the allegation
organize
here is that
ourselves.
there have been all these organizations for journalists, but government infiltration and interference is what has made them very weak. The Media Council, for example, you get government puts in place people who do not really meet the mark. You get Uganda Journalist Association, which government infiltrates. The other day,
How do you infiltrate?
well, you are in there to destabilize the leadership and make them not be able to look at the welfare of journalists.
Why would they render themselves destabilized? By the way, those are wrong allegations. They are just taking it as scapegoats. For me, for instance, I didn't know Kagolo, the president.
Yes.
And until when I was told this is the president of Vuja. and so many others. For us, we are saying that we want to move from the level of agitation to engagement. Constructive engagement.
But constructive engagement has not been done. When you were mooting these fees, for example, was there any consultations?
At the time I came to office, I actually found them on the table. They had done consultations. In those meetings that I talked about, that I've been
traversing
the country, copies were given, even before, but because at that time, they had not been even gazetted. I had not even appended my signature on them.
So this is not a Namayanja project as we are calling it. It's a government project that you found in the works and you are going ahead to implement.
And the intention I want to say is to ensure that we organize ourselves. And it's not here alone. Look at the engineers. Look at the lawyers. They all
the doctors.
Themselves. The doctors.
Even the teachers have a teachers union that is giving you a bloody nose.
Actually, when UNATU comes out, we are like, whoa.
Here they are.
They come and engage at every level.
But
now,
the journalists...
How many times have we seen the journalists coming up with one voice?
But Honorable Namayanja, is it in your interest as government, the kind of government that you are, that journalists are an organized, formidable force? You think it is in your best interest? Let's be honest here.
I'll give first of all a personal view. I believe in self-regulation.
Do you?
I believe in self-regulation. And I feel that it is actually, I'll give you so much the example of Kenya. Immediately, a few months after President Uhuru had become president, I just read in the papers that actually there is a certain newspaper that was fined by the Media Council. And fined money because they told lies about the president. They were supposed to apologize in 2 papers.
I'm sure Mr. William Pike is aware of what you're talking about, wherever he is, and I'm sure he's in Uganda watching you.
You get it? And the government was not involved. It is bad publicity for us to close a newspaper. It is bad publicity, certainly. It is bad publicity to close a radio station. So we do not benefit. In any case, it is Ugandans. They are journalists who get money on the basis of the articles or reports that they take. So when you close, that means for that period the paper will be closed or the radio station will be closed.
So here you are seated right on our pedestal and saying, well, playing the victim, that it's not in your best interest to close down media houses, yet you go ahead and do them because of the incompetences within the media houses. Now, how about looking back from, one, the curriculum of journalism, whether what is taught in school is actually what they find in practice, engaging media owners, because this country is heavily liberalized. You politicians, wherever you come from, have a little radio station wherever you are. Those radio stations are not set up for the basis of journalism. They are there for political agitation, to ensure that someone has got a platform to put up across their political agenda. What do you expect such a radio station will pay to their service people in there if they do not use and abuse them? Why don't we have a regulation on who owns media, what media they can own, so that at the level of ownership, then we go down in what we call maybe an inverted pyramid, start with the big fish and get down to the individual journalists called Kasiate, for example.
Simon, we need the support of everybody. First of all, once you organize the journalists themselves, then when they are an organized entity, we can now engage the owners and say, look, you are employing these people, but your terms, because some of them determine salaries on personal bargaining. And then you would say, look, for journalists, I think these are the basics. You have talked about radio stations owned by politicians. Journalists. Some of them do not start them for the sake of really doing journalism per se.
Exactly.
But for publicity, political publicity and that kind of stuff.
And then
but we are saying
the
if you are doing political publicity, there are benchmarks that you must follow. We want the journalists to organize themselves. We want to engage with the media owners. We want to engage with the professional institutions that train. Simon, I am not the first Minister of Information. When you come to my office, there is a line. Neither am I the last. But I want to feel happy when I've left this position or this docket to say I made a contribution.
Contribution, talking of which, this 200,000 you're talking about, and you know we're talking about 200,000. In your view, what do you answer to those journalists who say 200,000 shillings is a Herculean amount that they are unable to foot?
First of all, I'm very happy with that, because when somebody questions, there are 2 things now: the principle
and the amount.
Registration and the amount. So when they say no, the money is too much, then that means the principle is okay.
So
we can
you go
register.
Then you can
so
now
then we can begin engaging.
Who pays this money? The individual journalist or the media house that employs this particular journalist at that time?
We are going to engage even with the media owner, and we are saying this is not something that is starting tomorrow.
Give us time frames here, because we need to start, saving
we
or
want
even
to
borrowing
give
for that
ourselves,
matter.
we want to give ourselves something like 3 to 4 months. We have to do sensitization. We have to engage at the various levels, and then decide how the implementation framework.
Let's look at freedom of speech and expression across the country. We've had recently cases where, some political agitators, civil society organization leaders, and other politicians failing to put their point across on platforms that are open for the public, simply because government is walking in there and muzzling their voices.
I think...
why do you superintend over a ministry which is unable to guarantee the sanctity of journalism and the freedom of expression?
At times, I must say, especially for political talk shows, or talk shows that host politicians, because at times it may not be political.
But it hosts politicians.
I don't want to believe that this is a political show.
No, it's certainly not.
But you are hosting a politician, and it is your responsibility as the moderator to really moderate the way we talk. If I'm promoting hate speech, because
but for the most part, you imagine if I'm stopped from hosting you even before you can promote your hate speech. There are cases where before a talk show takes place, it's been banned.
There are issues of that are deterrent in nature.
Are we? Oh, come on! Are we saying that we have an overzealous police state, or we are simply saying that a lot needs to be done?
No,
I
first
would
of
not
all,
capitulate to something, Honourable Minister.
First of all,
because clearly people who are watching you on this TV,
I want to believe,
are saying, look at her giving us only lip service.
It's not lip service. I want to believe that whoever did it had a reason.
The reason could be right or wrong, and we are saying, for the most part, where you sit, is it a right reason or a wrong reason? I mean, the facts are known to you.
First of all, I was out of the country. I was in the European.
Yes, we saw you with the president having a discussion.
And I had not followed it to the letter.
Yeah, but your ministry does not.
But I wouldn't encourage a situation where somebody just enters and says an opposition politician has entered the studio, therefore we close. There must be justifiable
So why don't you follow up this case? It's a bad dent. It's bad publicity for the government. It's a bad dent on your credentials of a good democratic government, as you claim to be.
That goes back actually not to radio talk shows or media alone. We have situations where rallies, political rallies, have been organized by the opposition, and they are stopped. But we have situations where they have been organized and they take place in Arua, in Irila, and elsewhere. But there are reasons, really. If there are issues that you must follow, please let us do it. But I want to say, especially to the regulations we put in place, it's because this one maybe involves money, but there's also the code of ethics, the professional code of ethics, that talks about issues of being balanced.
Who determines balance here? You, the government, or it should be we in journalism to determine whether we are being balanced, we are being truthful, we are being objective,
an example,
and we are
being
factual.
Name.
Mention it.
When we had the strike for teachers, there are talk shows where you would hear a moderator telling teachers, this is your opportunity. You must rise up. Now, that's not your responsibility. You have got somebody on the teacher's side. You have got somebody on the government side. These two people have been engaging even before they came here. But here you are saying, please, this is the opportunity, take up this, you people must organize yourselves.
In all you're saying is that we moderators or journalists who play this role are many times not partial, we do not exercise balance, we do not show objectivity.
I don't want to give a blanket.
Yeah, but you said some amongst us.
Some amongst us.
So when I am one of those that is not balanced or is not fair and doesn't declare my conflict of interest, what does government come in to do according to your regulation?
That is why...
You close down the media or you take me to prison?
No, it is not closing. That is why we want to say, first of all, by starting with the nature of training that you get, it is in the interest, Simon. Some of you are really seasoned people. And if I am coming to your show, regardless of the
serious compliment.
It is, regardless of the issue, Simon, I know you will, and you know many times you have put your issues forward, because remember, as you are
in not very kind words.
In not very kind words, but that even somebody who does not believe in what you say will appreciate, depending on the way you have put it.
But there have been cases where you as a government have earmarked journalists and said these ones will not practice here comfortably.
No. Actually, let me say this.
You want some examples, Honourable Minister?
Even to dispel that fear. Because you talked about renewing.
Exactly.
There are some journalists who are saying that because
when you are already with a certificate and you perform this year in a certain manner that government that feels uncomfortable, your renewal will be subject to a lot of vetting.
That's not the case.
How can you allay our fears
That's
that renewal will be an automatic kind of subscription like we pay for membership of other places?
Just like the lawyers do. I mean, lawyers are there, the law council is there. We have lost, law society. We have lost cases. Some lawyers have really been so harsh on government and everything. And by the way, it is by an act of parliament. The Law Society was established by an act of parliament.
Why don't you therefore establish Uganda Journalists Association by an act of parliament? Because that doesn't seem to be the case. Why don't we start from there? Have an act of parliament.
But there's NIJU.
Who?
We want to revamp all these. I know you're asking.
You see, 15 years in this trade, and you can blame me for ignorance. But when you say NIJU, and then I'm asking, NIJU, who?
That is why we are saying we need, and we are not starting tomorrow, because we need to organize ourselves.
So in other words, what you're saying is that the bulk of responsibility is with journalists organizing themselves so they can be able to engage comfortably.
Not
with
journalists. I said ourselves. I'm not a journalist, certainly.
So when you say ourselves, what are you talking about?
Meaning that all the institutions that are involved. And along the way, it may not be, in Uganda we say, akutwale chiro omusima bukedde. I might force you to move at night, but in the morning when you reach, when you actually finally reach where you're supposed to be, you arrive at the destination, you're like, thank you very much, I think it's good that we came at night.
What a way to end this one indeed. Like they say, we have all this agitation as a result of this new statutory instrument issued by the Ministry of Information and National Guidance. But from what the minister seems to say, we will thank them in the morning, or perhaps tujakusimanga bagenzi, as they say, with that wonderful famous song. Let's take a short break. When we return, it's Simon Says. I am convinced personally that for anyone to have any claim to belonging to a certain group or a certain association, they must have obligations that are more than simply claiming to belong to that association. If you're a journalist, for that matter, at least there must be something that proves that you're a journalist beyond the wonderful stories you spew or the wonderful moderation that you may be engaged in. Perhaps having a certificate of registration. I mean, if traders have certificates of registration, artisans in places like Katwe belong to a certain group of Juakali practitioners. If Ugandan drama actors and comedians have associations that put them together, if musicians have associations that put them together, if lawyers for that matter, if engineers, if architects all have associations of belonging, why shouldn't journalists have associations of belongings that are formidable and up to the task? Well, we've got very many organizations, we've got many associations, we've got many little cocoons, but they seem to be almost coming to a point of near they are unable to have the backbone to have a formidable discussion with the powers that be. How about if we say, well, it's not one thing to belong to UJA, for example, or NIJU, but at least have a recognizable certificate of practice so that you are able to ply your trade without anyone asking Kasiate who or journalist who. The fees may be high for many of us. The modus of collecting these fees could even be questionable. Even what these fees will do when they have been collected could also be even further questionable. But I think it's imperative upon us to have at least that paper, that accreditation that shows that you are a journalist, I am a journalist, and this is the trade I apply for. Perhaps that will also help us in clamoring for those inherent problems that we continue to grapple with as a journalistic fraternity. And you all know them. Those of you who are not journalists but are watching this, we have tremendous issues. You see us smiling to you every morning on camera or writing these wonderful stories, but you have no idea what we've got to go through to bring them on the table. We've got our issues. Many of them, you always hear people say journalism doesn't pay. Indeed, that's for sure. It doesn't pay as much as we want to be paid. That's an issue that we can clamor for if only we are an accredited group of people, well organized and respected by the powers that be. If you're not respected by the powers that be, you will never be respected by that person that's going to employ you tomorrow. And therefore, they will pay you according to their whims and fancies, and certainly not to the market value of your services. If we can answer to all these queries positively, taking the message and the guidance of the powers that be positively, then indeed we can say we will have arrived as a fraternity. It's a wonderful Thursday morning. It's a wonderful sunny morning in Kampala where we're broadcasting from. We are waking up to a brand new day. Make it profitable, whether you're a journalist or a non-journalist. If you're a journalist, make sure that you are truthful, objective, balanced, and of course, cross-check your facts and have your spellings right. Have a good day.
What's that?
That document.
Oh, that. Just some business.
I came to apologize. I have no right to interfere in your lives.
I've eliminated the only evidence that links me to Ivan Chinawa's death.
But you didn't have to kill another person.
It's not like I've got anything to hide, Nene. Just go ahead.
Victoria, how is it like to work for Miles Vilagazi?
Blood seemed to matter not.
Blood?
Yeah, blood.
I'm responsible for your father's death.
Are you and I ever gonna have a chance to be sisters?
You want the baby to have my name?
Would that be okay?
Son, I'm happy you came. Yes, especially since I thought you were shunning all things Newman. I have my own reasons for showing up.
What did you say about him?
I'm sorry, attempted rape.
Okay, look, whatever you think you know about him, you don't know his heart.
If there is a way to make me feel more miserable, you will instinctively find it.
You gave up the one woman you loved, and now you're having a hard time figuring out how to move on?
I can't imagine who would want to hurt a good man like you.
Okay, you know what? I don't need you telling me how to feel about Lily.
Are you pregnant? No. Then why are you trying to alienate Tyler?
Has something happened between the two of you? Are you afraid that I'm gonna do something to ruin your marriage, or that you will?
Why don't we have a party? I'll bring Nikki and bring your siblings. How's that?
Now, what are you gonna do? You gonna blackmail them this time, or are you gonna bribe them?
Looks like Mommy's not the only one who knows how to make up a story.
Ekifo ekimu kissa wamusu n'ekyalo ekiweddeko abamanye bakiraza mumwa. Tugenda kutuuka gy'oli oyogere naffe ebikwata ku kyalo kyo, embeera mw'okolera, ebyobufuzi, ebyobulamu n'ensonga endala nnyingi. Ebyogerwa tebiyita. Tuusa eddoboozi lyo, yogera naffe buli lwakuna butereevu ku NTV akawungeezi.
Mikwano gyaffe bana NTV ate naddala mu bannaamu muli gw'emizannyo. Muli gw'ebyemizannyo gukomyewo 2014 ate mutya. Kati ate gukyusiza n'obudde. Gwa 7 gwali gwa 9 ne gugoberera ntusanyuka kati gubongereddeko wano malya g'ebyemisana awo. Busooke gubatayize gubaleetera bintu kyonna kalonda ennawo by'emizannyo. Ogwo muli gw'ebyemizannyo mupya 2014 Isima waali alagira Argentina yinjo mukubira eddiba lye omukwano gujja kukomawo ku muli gw'emizannyo naye kasita kinaatuuka eri bano ba Messi okulumba abalenzi baffe ba Thiago Silva awo tewali mukwano omuli gw'ebyemizannyo 2014 President.
12 beautiful girls all looking for love, and we guarantee that each one of them will go out on a date. But will it work out? Only time will tell as we follow their magical dating experience on Be My Date. Your personality will matter, and The Bachelor has to be screened by all these ladies. We're going to have fun as we find love on Be My Date. And whoever said finding love was hard, on Be My Date, we will break the rules. Finding love is going to be an interesting experience that you all want to be a part of. Be My Date is a brand new dating show that is a must-watch on the station that turns on your world. My name is Anissa Fabiola and I'll be your host.
To find a date, visit our Facebook page and inbox us your details. Be My Date. Dating made easier. Coming soon on NTV.
Everybody in Parliament, as long as they can wake up and vote for their nanny.
As long as the voters exercise their rights to elect their leaders, there was no need for term limits in Uganda.
I know him. I know how he operates. I know how he thinks.
There are ways you can go around these obstacles.
Why should I conduct myself as if I am a Muyai?
It's absolutely true. I admired the President Museveni.
Is the ICC a first code targeting African leaders?
You cannot tell me that the whole trouble Kenya had revolved about only 2 individuals.
The money is not in the budget of this financial year.
You can't beat God. You see, God is polygamous also. Look at Jeremiah chapter 31.
The security of this country will largely depend on the contribution that the people make.
Asimwe, you're drunk. Okay, don't worry. Sentence where mkoti yangu.
Sentence.
Izo wachemu.
Sawanya demo mwenge.
Hani kutamu. Ha? Nkuunyirira bwanze nja kukuba.
Tonna kusasula myezi ebiri ja nyumba gye batubanja. Oli mukunywa mwenge n'abakazi.
Kikulu nnyo fe abeewola okumanya zi banka n'abatuwola engeri gye babalamu amagoba.
Lwaki obuuza ekibuuzo ekyo?
Sente zaabwe.
Dembe lyo ekyo kikulu nnyo okukimanya. Onfuna kikulu nnyo okusooka okunoonyereza tusobole okwetegereza n'okwekkaanya. Okifuna amagoba n'oluvannyuma tulondeko amagoba agasinzeeko okuba amatono.
On the next episode of T-Nation.
You're a magical mystery ride, and I'm so dizzy, don't know what hit me, but I'll be alright. He's got no money, but he's got that good love. He's got no money, but he's got that good love. He was my heart.
The old people have neglected the environment, so it's the youth to come and take over it.
Don't forget to catch the show this Saturday at 11 a.m. only on NTV.
T-Nation. You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulungu.
About 10 after 8 and we're still at the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. Thank you so much for joining us, whether on air or online. You can stream live. That is www.youtube.com/NTV Uganda/live. We're promised that will bring you an awesome morning experience. This morning before the break we had Honorable Rose Namayanja, the Minister of Information and National Guidance, speaking on media fees and the regulation of the media in this country. What is the way forward? Is it time now to regulate actually journalists? Give you something to certify to show that you are indeed a certified journalist in Uganda. How do other countries do it? Kasiate was deliberating issues there. And some of the key things that the Honorable says. In the 90s, the Kenyans would come here to benchmark on press issues. But now we are going to Kenya. All right. Journalists in Kenya are far more organized than the ones here. Self-regulation is important. And of course, we know a couple of journalists just, go out of really the guide regulations, and they will come up with stories that are not based on facts. They will not do their research properly. And they make some of us good journalists really bad. And she goes on to say, once the journalists are organized, we can then talk to the media owners and employers to look into better pay. Now, we know that better pay is also one of the things that compromises the quality of stuff that is written, that is broadcast, when especially the fact that media houses thrive on money from individuals and companies. And if a company pays you a lot of money and wants this and that talked about or blocked, you will need to do that because you need to survive in the business. And so some of that has also compromised. And some of our journalists are doing that so that they get some bread for their families. Some journalists are seasoned, and when they put their issues forward, they are appreciated and changes are made. All the institutions involved need to organize themselves, and we want to move from the level of agitation
to engagement. It's very sad that right now there's about 3 or 4 organizations that bring journalists together in this country, yet we only need one. Maybe the 200,000 shillings will help us, but we'll see that when it happens. And she also said something very important. This is the most adulterated profession anyone can become. We've seen presenters turned journalists, but many of us have also not done journalism, and but also we've turned out to be fine journalists, and so that's where the line needs to be drawn. If you studied journalism and you are not good at the profession, maybe it's time to get out and bring people who know what they're doing, and I definitely agree with that. While some of us studied international relations at the university and have been doing this for 8 years, maybe it's time to go back and upgrade. Those are questions that need to be answered, and you can help us do that on our Twitter. And independence in this sector is needed. That is James Mwangusha at Davida saying, at this juncture, Honorable Rose, I am not pursuing a degree in journalism. There are too many laws. And they go and say, you have the right point, Honorable Rose. Organization is needed, and please avoid getting sides on political matters. At David Kanje saying, Honorable, everyone can be a politician, but not a journalist. Whoa, all right. Maybe we'll be back with some of your comments on our Facebook page, and some of the stuff you've commented on this, of course, with your birthday wishes. But before we go there, here's the traffic update. Be a traffic officer this morning by sending an image or a short video, wherever you are, to our WhatsApp number 0-716-730. That is 0-716-730. And we can update people on what's going on wherever you are. But we have a very clear view of Kintu Road from the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. Always clear, very, very clear. Borders, guys walking, those on Lexus and Futsobeshi, but really this road is almost clear every day. Big up to the traffic officers that man the road around the railway thing into the Subway restaurant. You can use it to access Nakumat or Ginger Road. We got some pictures from Peter in Bukoto. There's a picture right there of the traffic in picture about 15 minutes ago. We also got another picture from Irene at Acacia Avenue right there. I also got a picture that has failed to upload from Mubende, from a man called Mukasa. Okay. We'll put it up on our Facebook page. Let us know wherever you are. 0-716-730 is the WhatsApp number. When I come back, the HTC moment and everyday life. But for now, Mabel with the birthday wishes and some of your comments on Facebook. Good morning.
Happy birthday to you,
If today is your birthday, may your day be filled with the warmth of the Almighty and the feeling of love. Ashava Pride, happy birthday to you, an assistant and accountant at Eureka Place. And also Odetta Tushabe, very special greetings coming in from Irene Idubu and Judith Imbabazi. They love you very much. So let us know where the party is, and morning at NTV will be there. Now on to Facebook. This video is actually on our Facebook page. As you can see, goats were being stolen in an Ipsum. A very interesting video. If you want to see more of that video, go like our Facebook page. But on to some of your messages regarding the big story. Patrick Oroma says, why don't they register once at a fee? He's referring to the journalists, then renew for free. What is that money going to be used for? And Amy says, thanks, good work. She has done good work, and you want to win the HTC. Jahril Phillips says, every institute is only a set of interactions with human relations. It's important to have regulations in place. It's only the standards that should be balanced to accommodate those who can do the practice but not qualified as required. And someone says, but why do I have to pay in order to practice what I studied? For real? And Hilo says, funny, as she talks of poor pay to journalists, yet defends not the essence of government, sucking even the little blood they have. Great interviewing, Simon. And some Katende says, you beat them. You take their cameras. Now you want to register them again. Government, do you actually need the media? And James says, the moderators also need to balance both sides. I think he's talking to about the radio stations here. Mostly while these opposition and government bodies show sides. And the news reporters should also balance, because that's why they are not respected by the police. And Diga Simon says, Zabike emipira. And yeah, that's a picture we had earlier of Rose Namayanja talking about the media fees that has been proposed on the big story with Simon. We now return to Brian for today's HTC moment.
We started with the goal of bringing the power of computing into the hands of people around the world. From the beginning, we were designing many of the world's first touch and wireless handheld devices. Reaching out to our partners and setting no limits on innovation, we produced one of the most popular touch experience devices of the time. We were building smartphones before the term smartphone even existed. We then set out to make the most versatile smartphones, including ones that let you use either a touchscreen or a keyboard. We saw the potential of 3G early on and introduced the world's first 3G Windows mobile smartphone. We changed the way you use your fingers. Based on our research into gestures, we gave you the intuitive and easy-to-use HTC Touch. We then announced a new way for you to experience the internet with the world's first Google Android smartphone. To give you the most personal experience, we introduced HTC Sense, a user experience that fundamentally changes the way you use your phone by making things work the way you expect them to. We once more revolutionized the industry by launching the world's first 4G Android smartphone. We integrated Beats audio into our phones to deliver the most authentic sound experience, enabling people to finally feel the music the way the artist intended. We created a one-of-a-kind phone with an amazing camera that outperforms most point-and-shoot varieties. Most recently, we once again set the industry ablaze with the new HTC One. Critics have hailed the new One with its full metal body design, a live home screen, photos that come to life, and dual frontal speakers as the best Android phone of the year. Curiosity and ingenuity have defined our history, and we're recognized by the industry as one of the world's most innovative brands. We've come a long way, but one thing hasn't changed. It's people like you that inspire us to create the most innovative products in a world that becomes more connected every day.
Minutes after 8, and Everyday Life is here. Of course, powered by HTC. Quietly brilliant, and I'm telling you, these phones are brilliant. We can't remember the last time HTC made an attractive flagship device, but in the last 2 years, the company has cranked up beautifully crafted unibody devices like the 1X, which we call the M7, the 1S, and the Windows Phone 8X. However, its crowning achievement was last year when it made the HTC One, and of course followed that the HTC One Max. We all know it is called the M7. And a very high opinion of the M7 doesn't really mean that we're very excited about it, but we also know that most of you had a lot of scrutiny. Now, we know that the HTC One Max, which I hold, it's called the M8 now, includes a boom sound speaker, a curved screen, you can see all that. Actually, if I remove it's called a housing, over this thing. What do they call it? A housing. It's called yes. If you move it, you'll notice that it has curved edges and screens. Okay. After all, if it ain't broke, why do you have to fix it? So it comes like this already for you. A gorilla screen, literally 2 in the inside, so it works on the outside. Your inside is still safe. And believe it or not, this phone is made from even more metal than the HTC One. Roughly 90% of the chassis is made from aluminium compared to 70% for the M7. This is the HTC One Max. Beautiful design. And one other thing to consider is that the one's all metal exterior looks great and it's quite durable. Some people tell me that you need to buy a cover for the phone, but I carry it like that, and when I got it, it had been used, I think, for about 6 months, and it's still intact like that. So the exterior is really quite durable. In 2014, we hope that HTC will come up with a more fantastic design. We are waiting. And remember, this was your best smartphone in 2013. That is HTC One Max. You can go to the HTC Hub at the Forest Mall and grab yourself any of the other models, the HTC 500, HTC Desire 600, 300, 400, and 200, ranging from prices like 350,000 shillings to 2.5 million, which is the latest device that HTC has. That's your HTC moment today, and go and get yourself one of the models. Now, there are always arguments between parents and children when it comes to what they want their kids to do. And usually there are differences on ideologies and the different aspects attached to particular jobs and careers. We'll be looking at that and more. Should parents be involved in helping their children choose their careers? Coming up on Everyday Life. Good morning.
It's the first thing you see in the morning and the last thing you see at night. It stresses you out. It calms you down. It helps you remember. It helps you forget. It keeps you connected. It's the only thing you own that is always within an arm's reach. Which is why you don't need to get a phone. You need a phone that gets you. And you. And you. And we are HTC.
Everyday Life is brought to you by...
And we are HTC.
Welcome to Everyday Life, and this morning, you know that every Thursday we look at family and relationships and how parents can be better parents, how children can be better children, how parents and children can work together to make sure that we have healthy families. And today, joined by our very own in-house counselor. I didn't know he was a counselor, but he is the business in NTV. Talks about business all the time. Samuel Satumba. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, glad to be here.
You made a remarkable report the other day when you were looking at the cross-border corruption. And you did some fine journalism there.
Thank you very much.
Honorable Rose should, in fact, waive the 200K.
I'll be glad at least for 1 year.
Well, so you are a journalist and a counselor.
Yes, I am.
Tell me about the counseling. How come? I had never imagined it. Never.
It's a good question because it fits into what we were talking about this morning about career. I started out as I wanted to be a lawyer, actually. Those are the dreams.
Right.
And
I wanted to be a doctor.
Yeah, absolutely. But as you grow up, I reached HSC, and I realized that I may not be up for being a lawyer.
Yeah.
So I don't get even the points from government.
You're right.
But there was this man I was watching, Senior 5, Senior 6, Richard Quest of CNN. And I thought, I want to be like that guy, to explain these things, you know.
Right. Make them simple.
Absolutely.
Right.
So somehow, because I didn't get the points for law, I opted for journalism.
Right.
And a diploma. As I studied more, I realized I actually loved the profession. But as time went by, I started loving listening to people, helping people.
Right.
And then I heard about counseling. And I thought, okay, if I'm looking for a profession with meaning, for me, I was looking for meaning. Because think about it, if we cover numbers, central bank, etc. After we are done, then what?
Right.
But for counseling, if you help somebody, you can't ask the so what question because you can see the result there. So that's how the counseling came in. Love for people.
Right.
Yeah.
Beautiful, Samuel. Well, I'm telling you, just the other day I was talking to a lady and she said, I think my calling is counseling. And she's also a journalist.
Yeah.
She's studying, mass communications at UCU, and she's like, I think I'm called to help. So I'm like, why? Most of my friends come to me for, when they have problems and I don't know how to solve. So I think I go and train as a counselor and take that.
Tell her, you can set an appointment with me, I will help her.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Going to the gist of the matter this morning, we know families that are literally guided or based on one particular career.
Yeah.
The dad is a doctor, the mother is a doctor, the children are doctors, the grandchildren are doctors. The whole family is medicine. Lawyer. That's how it is, And then it raises a question, what is the impact or the influence of parents, in helping their children choose their career paths? And where things go wrong, or where things go right, and it turns out that the parent and the child both actually love the profession.
Yeah.
Let's first focus on that. Why is it that you find parents that will say, you must do what I did? Is it because they look at some other professions as less, or, they're not privileged professions, or?
We are all a sum total of our experiences and the way we were brought up.
Yes.
At the end of the day. So the parents, maybe they got impressed with a particular profession. They love it. And in the process of loving their children even overmuch, they think, if I have gained out of this profession and educated these children, I think they should also come this way because I know something about it. So that is basically what they know about.
So in the initial stage, this is for good?
No, it's always for good, actually. It's always for good. When parents steer you towards a profession, usually the parents mean well. But then, that's where the conflict can start. Because while you mean well, your child is another individual. They might be out of you, but this is an individual who has their own mindset.
Right.
You may be part of their upbringing, but they have other interactions in life which define their own internal emotionality, which defines what they may want.
Right.
So this is where the parent has to even love a little differently now by listening to this individual who is their child, but an individual with their own mind and heart.
What goes wrong? Okay, the parent means good and they want their child, and like, you know what, I've been a doctor for many years, I've gotten all these good things out of this, I really want my child to follow through, the medicine will not disappoint them, or law will not disappoint. In fact, I'll hire them in my company or in my clinic, and we can start from there. They can take over this huge empire that I own. Then things fall through.
There's an example. There's an example of somebody we know in the media, not you. There's somebody we know in the media who studied veterinary doctor. He was a vet doctor for all these years. And why did he study vet doctor? Because the father is a doctor of sorts.
Yes.
So they were pushed that direction. After that degree, end of story. They have never done vet at all.
They've never practiced it.
And they are thriving in the media.
Yes.
Extremely. You see, so what happened? The parent was not able to appreciate the personality and the interests of that person. And therefore, this person did the degree. I've had these stories where it says, I'm going to do a degree from Muzei, and when I'm finished, I'm going to do my own thing. I've had some musicians do that at Muzei. Your degree is here.
Let me go.
I've gone to what I want.
Yes.
So I think to avoid clashes, the parents now, especially of this generation where the children ask why and everything, the parents need to listen to the children. But because of the way the parents were socialized, this is where people like me come in. We are kind of neutral. And because of the training,
you want everyone to win.
Yeah, we can listen to an individual. There's something they call career guidance, which we're used to. They give you the choices and you choose. But there's something called career counseling. Career counseling,
those are two different things.
Yes.
We used to do career guidance in school all the time.
Yes. They give you the list and say you can choose. And they say if you do this, you may get this job, etc. But counseling addresses the individual. For instance, you have been telling us you did international relations. And yet somewhere you drifted into media.
Yes.
you became you, and you are happy. You could have done that from the beginning, but it took a while.
I shouldn't have wasted time.
Exactly. I have sat down with some young people. Somebody was asking me one day, I want to do fashion. I love fashion, but I also want to do media. On their own, they came to me. Then I said, okay. I asked the question, why do you want to do each one of these? Then I said, then we started exploring the advantages and disadvantages of each of these.
Right.
Based on family values, based on just passion, and based on the dangers, the actual dangers in the market and advantages. And we zeroed in on media, not because fashion is bad, but we zeroed in on media because the context of this individual at home, themselves, in the market, fit the media. And we were reasoning.
So they would rather go right into media,
yes,
instead of trying to juggle both and getting lost.
Or even going to fashion, where the lady was telling me that, you know, mommy may not be happy about it because fashion may involve dressing in certain ways, interacting. You have pressure. As a woman, you have pressure.
Yes.
From men, sexual, sometimes in nature.
Yes.
So mommy and daddy may not be happy with that. And they said, do you mind about their opinion? I said, yes. So which one is better in terms of that opinion? Is it media, or which one will bring you controversy?
Right.
So I don't want controversy. Media is safer. But that was a process of thinking through. If anybody came to me and they say, I want a job, I usually insist we meet and sit and we ask those questions of the individual. What do you want? What do you want? Why do you want it?
Why do you want that particular job?
Yes. Where do you want to go with this one? How far do you want to go?
Right.
That is now counseling, because we are dealing with you.
That is career counseling.
Yes. And counselors are there professionally. And maybe it's high time now they are made use of.
Sam, what is the role of the school? Like I said, in school, and it was really focused on a lot, especially when you're approaching the candidate classes. Yeah. I remember in third term of S3, they brought career, people to tell us what we should do. In A-level, we're about to fill in the different courses we want to do at university, the choices, and they bring these guys, and we have like 2 to 3 hours of non-stop interaction. Yeah. Then we choose, okay, I want to do this.
Yeah. The schools have roles, Brian. Today, in a very dynamic environment, kids need to be steered. But they must have some say in the choice sometimes. That's what drives them. Otherwise, they will say, I did this course because I was told. They need to own up to some degree. Direction is important, but they need to have a feeding to some degree.
Or maybe the schools will just throw a list there.
Yeah.
And then they tell us, if you do this, you will go here.
Yeah.
If you do this, then they leave it at that. And then for us as students, we'll look at, actually, when I study law, I can earn some good money.
But that's a dream. Being a lawyer, it goes more than earning money. It has its own complexities. It has its own sacrifices sometimes. So is the child helped to see some of those things? And in this case, I would say the schools have a role, not only of addressing the children, but also engagement with the parents. Imagine we have a class session for career, and the counselor comes and engages parents with children, and the discussion is between the two.
All the parties are there,
but the counselor is like a neutral party. Counselor gives information and gives some direction, and then the choices are made. That can be very helpful, especially today. I think about some jobs. Doctors, you see they're striking every day because of pay. Yeah. And now there's many doctors, unless you are planning to go to diaspora and work there. But here, the doctor job is a challenging one. But then there are things like if you go to real estate, there are people who design compounds.
Interior decor.
Yes. That seems like art, but not everybody who does interior decor necessarily has some good qualification in art.
Yes.
But it's a passion, and it's a job, because people are building houses every day. And that's where you can make a living, and it's passionate because you see creation.
Yes.
And there is money also.
Yes.
Then there is, I'll think about, what else? I'll think about designing wedding Weddings.
Wedding planner.
Yeah, wedding planner. Where is that? What degree is that? Is there a degree for that?
Don't you have to have studied art?
Not necessarily. But now that's knowledge of the market. And therefore these kids are helped. Okay, there might be a degree which is closer to that, which will steer you to that.
Right.
Sometimes you just have to do the degree and then go where you want. If the circumstances insist that you need a piece of paper. In fact, nowadays people just do pieces of paper. Then they go like you.
Then they branch
you need a piece of paper and you went where you want.
Yes.
In a nutshell, schools have to proactively use professionals now because they exist and they follow. If I sit down with a young man or woman, I can actually help create a fairly good profile of these people, and then maybe look at the job they want, and then help them make a decision. Not make a decision for them, help them make a decision.
In case you don't have access to all this, you don't have access to a counselor, and I like the concept that you brought of career counseling instead of guidance. When should I know that I am ready, that this is exactly what I want to do? If I do my own self-evaluation and say, okay, I think I should not go to media, maybe I'm cut out to be a lawyer. When do I realize that?
Okay, there are a few indicators. How you feel sometimes usually is a driver. When I began my other profession as a journalist, it was very, very tough.
Yeah.
But remember, I was inspired by some guy called Richard Quest on CNN. But when I began journalism, it was so tough that if I was not moved by something inside, I would have quit. But because I loved it, I walked everywhere. Everywhere I was going, I walked. There was no transport. There was no phone. There was no lunch.
Yeah.
It was tough. But because I had a drive internally, I was able to do it. So examine how you feel. But also do your homework. Ask around. You want to do this, whatever. Ask around. Find out what are the challenges, what are the actual problems. Will you be able to put up with those?
Right.
Yeah. Do your homework, one, and understand yourself. Those two things will help even if you don't see a counselor. But also approach experienced people around. The parents, you can ask them. It doesn't mean that you have to always disagree. Make use of the parents, make use of the relatives, make use of friends who are working. They'll give you some tips.
Apunyo Robert on Facebook says parents should give their children career counseling, not to force children to do courses that they want them to do. And I guess those, we talked about boundaries of parents. Where should parents stop? Ntikale chiganye, okay, do whatever you want, and we can, it's fine. I'll be supporting you. Can parents ably do that? And the recommendation is that parents should be more understanding. And I like what you've said. Study your child's feelings. Some of us, from way back, I wanted to be a teacher.
Yeah.
There's a time when I wanted to be a teacher, and that's because while in school I always dictated notes for my fellow students, wrote on the blackboard, articulated issues quite well. So I thought I should teach maybe. Then of course teachers were broke, so I was like, that's maybe another. I should go away. And I saw teachers also leaving the profession. I'm like, that's not wise. And then
you were assessing.
I was assessing.
Yeah.
I thought about these things. Go to university, did international relations, tried to practice boring. Someone interested me in TV and I'm like, yeah, this is where I need to be.
Yeah.
And thank God my mother helped me.
Yeah.
My wife supports me fully.
Yeah.
And I guess those are the people that also should, should have a support system.
Absolutely. Yes, the way you carve or card can be a bit different.
Yes.
Teacher, then the national whatever, and then media.
Yes.
In life, it can happen like me. I went to journalism. I was lawyer, then journalism.
Right.
Then counselor.
You
see, later in life, it's okay to change.
Right.
If you see things are not working, and usually we are mature now.
Yes.
That is why there's something I wanted to say. If a child does a bachelor's degree, do not let them go to master's until they have at least worked a little bit. I know parents.
They want them to study right away.
It is useless. Mostly it's going to be useless.
Right.
They will have pieces of paper, but they may discard them.
There's no experience.
Yeah.
And I'll bring you back to also talk about why we fail to always figure out what we want. You see someone works and works and works and works, and then at 45, they're like, I think I'm cut out to be a chef. And you can see them being happy all of a sudden. We'll talk about, you know, that in the weeks to come. I'm very privileged to talk to you, Sam, and you can catch Sam on our business features every Thursday.
Every day we have business news, but beyond business, I'm a professional counselor.
All right.
Beyond career, marriage, workplace stress, things like that.
Right.
I can also handle.
Then I'll bring you how to balance marriage and work, especially when it comes to money. We'll talk about that.
That's the date.
Yes. Sam Setumba joining us this morning on Everyday Life. Now, Isma is standing by with the sports. Isma, Manchester United, something that we expected. What did you think last night?
Good morning. A goal like the one Patrice Evra scored last night can win any game in football, but not against Bayern Munich, as Manchester United were knocked out of the Champions League. We'll also be telling you about the return of Nemo Stars, as they are back winning. And it's going to be a long weekend for everyone who loves his golf, because the Masters get underway today until Sunday, when that green jacket is awarded to someone who may not be Adam Scott, the winner from last year. When we get back, we'll be discussing that and more in sport.
A parent's main goal is to make their kids feel happy and live a good life, right? Therefore, let your kids do what they want, and I'm sure you'll be well pleased with them. That's all we had for you today on Everyday Life. Coming up, sports with me, Mabel and Isma. Stay with us.
Everyday Life was brought to you by...
And we are HTC. Every idea we have begins with you. The way you connect.
Good morning.
How you browse. How you share. And how you interact with the world around you.
Your relationship with your God is the most important thing.
Have a company of people who have got a similar mindset.
How do you want people to think, feel, and act after your talk? In other words, what's your objective?
You inspire everything. Because in the end, innovation doesn't really matter unless it does something that really matters to you. And we are HTC.
People, 50 days, one task.
An incredible journey of 10,000 kilometers to deliver a taste of home to Humphrey Kayange in London.
A journey you can be part of. We're looking for 25 people to say Twende Kazi and join the Tusker 25 on this mission.
Join me.
Join me.
Join me. Join me.
Join me. Join us and be a part of Africa's most epic TV show. Twende Kazi.
Hey, hey. Hey, hey.
12 beautiful girls all looking for love, and we guarantee that each one of them will go out on a date. But will it work out? Only time will tell as we follow their magical dating experience on Be My Date. Your personality will matter, and The Bachelor has to be screened by all these ladies. We're going to have fun as we find love on Be My Date. And whoever said finding love was hard, on Be My Date, we will break the rule. Finding love is going to be an interesting experience that you all want to be a part of. Be My Date is a brand new dating show that is a must watch on the station that turns on your world. My name is Anissa Fabiola and I'll be your host.
To find a date, visit our Facebook page and inbox us your details. Be My Date. Dating made easier. Coming soon on NTV. On the next episode of Jazz with Isaiah.
Like most people. So the people started
calling me the cowboy because I was talking about, you know, if country music is so popular among cowboys. So I called them maybe Ugandan folk jazz or something.
What then? What? Folk jazz?
Ugandan folk jazz.
Okay.
UG folk jazz. It's my own.
Jazz with Isaiah.
With us at the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel, maybe using your telly or streaming online. Thank you so much for staying with us. 13 on to 9 o'clock, and we're looking at career counseling before with Sam Setumba. Did you always want to be a sports journalist?
No, I actually discovered that I did everything that was wrong with my life until until I discovered something I could do well without even having to go to school to study it.
How long did
it
that
comes
take?
from inhibit. It's I remember while at university, when I was studying in Makerere, I would listen to so many sports shows and read and say, I know this, I could do this. I remember vividly at some point, actually before I go to campus, I was in my senior 6 vacation, and there was a question that was trending on one of the television stations, and it was about the best golfer ever to win a major. And off my fingertips, I knew it was Colin Montgomery. Then I said I could do this. By the time I was done in university, I'd made up my mind, but because I'd done so well in economics through my life and math, I thought I would study this and do well at it. Then I realized I can't sit in a bank and have 10,000 in my pockets and I'm counting 200 million. I said, let me count something I don't know, at least count numbers.
Things are not balanced.
Yeah.
Mabel, is it the same experience for you?
First of all, I wanted to ask you, Brian, you're talking about being a journalist, people who are presenters and journalists. So do you think I'm a journalist?
No. I don't the minister says we have to go back and study, so we are presenter turned journalists.
Okay.
So we'll have to go and get some 200,000 first to keep on the job, then study. Well, this morning, sport Isma, you told us last year's MVP, Kami Kabange, was leaving City Oilers, but now turns out the guy is staying. What happened?
He couldn't secure his documentation. He's Congolese born and does play for the Rwanda national team. Just couldn't get a passport to go to Qatar. I've been told that the restrictions of betting into Qatar. I know someone who is there doing cheyo. I don't want to ask them how they got it. Because Kabange just couldn't get in, and now he's going to stay with City Oil. Something probably everyone in the team will welcome. He's such a nice guy. This guy, he's not only brilliant on the court, but you can barely want to throw a stone at him or raise your arm or raise your voice at him, because I think it does a fantastic job as a person, and he's opted not to go away, having not got his documentation, so he'll be here for another season.
Right.
Yesterday you mentioned earlier to me, as we were walking up here, you were at Lugogo yesterday for the volleyball.
Yeah, the Ginger Open final that wasn't played because when darkness fell in Ginger a few weeks back, but Nemo Stars winning the first tournament they've won this year. So being the dominant year that Nemo Stars had last year, and they are not won a tournament till now, and there's been the Makere Open, there's been the KIE Open, they've been Ndeje Open, there've been several tournaments, and Nemo Stars are not won any because sporters have been doing the business, having signed Ivan Ongom from UCU and then Dickens Otim from Onkomba. But last night, Nemo Stars, reminding me of the team that they were in the past 2 years. They got to 10 finals last year and won 8 of them. Last evening, as good as Nemo Stars have been in the past 2 years, winning the final by 3-0. I thought sporters were competitive, but just not good enough. Not good enough to go there and win this one. Congratulations, Nemo Stars. I thought George Aporo had quite a night. I thought he played well. I thought their setter, Smith Okumu, was brilliant. Whenever he swung the ball up, everyone was just there to hit it.
Right.
Sport is just not good enough, especially defensively, and that's the reason why Nemo Stars are champions again.
All right. Now talking golf, the Masters, the year's major is really starting. The Augusta National is starting without Tiger Woods. Should I watch it?
You should watch it because why? Even if the television revenue slumps when Tiger is not playing, I think we're at a point where the world is not following only Tiger, because there are so many golfers. They are probably Tiger is as good as anyone, but having not won a major in 5 years probably won't be the concern of many. And I have a feeling that even without him, probably a more open tournament. And I was seeing a lot on the BBC last night that everyone was giving it to Sergio Garcia. I don't know where this starts from, because been playing very well, okay, at the start of the year, a very good short game, but he's not one who goes out and wins majors regularly. And then you look at the entire field without Tiger Woods, it's just about everyone who could win. Recently has been, I think in the past 5 years, out of about, that is 5 times, for 20 majors, they've only been 2 people who have won majors twice. That is Phil Mickelson and then Rory McIlroy. So there's been an avalanche of everyone who could come and win. We saw last year the British, I think Justin Rose came and won one. Adam Scott went and won also. They took the green jacket home last year. So I think it's a very open tournament, with or without Tiger. I'd love to come back here on Monday and have a new winner. For example, someone like Jason Day from Australia. I've seen him come into majors and go in the pressure group on the final day and come out second. Right. Probably someone like that would be more satisfying. Keegan Bradley, since he won the USPGA back in 2009, hasn't been the same golfer. There is Henrik Stenson, the golfer of the year last year. Won the FedEx Cup and then won the European Tour. He's got to be one of those that we're looking at. So going to be some very late nights for me, but really looking forward to this.
These guys have amazing handicaps. So let's see. Without Tiger, who gets it?
But moving on quickly, did Manchester United over-celebrate their goal that they thought the game was over? Because
I think maybe it's a lesson, I think, for most teams. And it's this, coaches always say, every team is most vulnerable after scoring. Yeah. Now, that's why if I was a manager of any team in this world, even if it was the NTV team, I'd make sure that immediately after we score, we celebrate for 2 minutes. That way, we take away the pressure. Now, if United score, and that was a brilliant goal from Patrice Evra, there is no business conceding 22 seconds later, because you knew Bayern Munich are going to respond. Probably that's one mistake by United got. But over the 2 legs, I don't think United was as good as Bayern. If over the 2 legs, one team scored 4 and the other scored 2, I don't think there is much you can say about such a result. United on the day probably thought they could go to Munich and defend and just nick that 1 goal for Paris and then fall back and probably go and win the game by a goal to nil. But the kind of response that Bayern gave them, that's the thing of champions. It's the kind of thing you said, an egg and a rock yesterday. This time when the rock started to pound the egg, it pounded the egg and even wanted to squeeze the yolk and get the yellow turn into white. And that was a brilliant performance for me for Bayern Munich, especially after they went a goal down.
You said a lot about the European pedigree yesterday, Madrid, Barcelona, the 2 different sides. Yeah. And then the shocker of the year, I guess. Yeah. It happened. Yeah, Atletico. You expected Atletico to beat Barcelona.
Yes, I went for Atletico over the 2 legs because I've seen sufficient evidence of them winning the tie. But I always thought that since Messi hasn't shown up in over the 4 games I played prior, I thought he'd show up last night. How wrong I was. He didn't even show up at all. He had the chances probably, but in those first 20 minutes of that game last night, Atletico should have been 5-0 up. Barcelona was so lucky to be in the tie. But Atletico, not only did they score the first goal on the day, but then through Koke. After that, they pounded that Barcelona back, and we always thought Javier Mascherano, Marc Bartra, and Jose Manuel Pinto, the 3 of them, the 2 defenders and the goalkeeper, are the weak link, and it showed for long spells when at the start of the game when Atletico were pressing the ball high up the pitch, Barcelona just couldn't get out. But probably in the second half, when Barcelona got back into it and had chances, Neymar had 2 of them, Messi had another one, he had a header that for me should bury. But over the 2 legs, you've got to think that Atletico, even if they were not playing with Diego Costa, their best striker this season, somehow they just have that thing. And for me, the biggest way for any team that is left in the Champions League, the moment you play Atletico and they take the lead, probably that's the time when you call your bus and say we are leaving the stadium. Because Atletico don't concede. The moment they score that first goal, I've seen them win so many games. And actually, I've insisted many times that I'm not comfortable watching Atletico win games by 5-1. I love them when they win 1-0 because that's the hallmark of a team that has the balance when they go forward and when they defend. For example, when they had a goal, they were leading by a goal. They gave Barcelona the ball, and they had 4 lines of 4, the back 4, and then the next 4 in the midfield. And at that point, Barcelona couldn't break through. Big result this for Atletico, probably the biggest they've had, and they've not been at this stage of the semi-finals since 1974. Yeah, it's taken them 40 years to get here.
Wondering, are we seeing a change in the balance of power in Spain?
You can't call it a change of balance of power because it's only happened for 1 year. Unless it happens for 2-3 years, then you can say the change of balance of power. But I love what Diego Simeone said earlier in the season. He said there is no difference between us and Barcelona and Real Madrid. The only difference is 200 million pounds on the bank. because that's how much Barcelona spend more than Atletico. But I think Atletico doing well. It's the problem that they can't keep all their players. They'll sell last season they sold Falcao. Now they'll sell Diego Costa. You can almost bet on that. They'll sell either of Coco or Adachuran at the end of the season, and then they'll be back to the place where they're the third best team in Spain.
Well, how the mighty fall, I'm telling you.
Do you mean United or Barcelona?
Barcelona.
Okay.
United is now...
Not the...
We're used to
okay, I kind of had hope that United would go to Germany and get
a result.
You know, and I guess and I think Arsenal has the same problem. You score, you get too excited, and the guy just pounds, you know, right away. Man United used to do the same thing. Pounds the moment you're still celebrating, alas, it's leveled. So, and after that, you can't go back. They will just, you know, kick you all over the place. Also, be some Europa second legs tonight, so watch out for that. We'll be talking about the results tomorrow, and you can catch Isma with Lumansi and Alan later at 1:30 p.m. on Omumuli as they talk about other issues. But for now, the African proverb. The youth walk faster than the elderly, but the elderly know the road.
That sounds like an old broom, the old broom. The new broom sweeps clean.
The older broom sweeps the corner.
Knows all the corners.
You know, in villages where there aren't a lot of tarmac roads, there are always these drunk people they'll tell you about who walk home when they are so drunk, but they never lose their way.
Which is strange, yeah?
Yeah, because they've been walking the same path. He cannot hit the wrong hole because I can't say pothole on the Maram Road. They cannot turn towards the wrong house. They don't walk into a mango tree that they don't know, a muvule tree. They still walk home every single day, drinking for 30 years. Because
it also reminds me of a Luganda proverb, I think, oyigiriza omukadde okususa. Yeah.
Never had.
You can't teach an old woman how to, you know.
Probably there are things because you've done it. When you do something so many times, it becomes instinctive. You can do it in darkness without even second thought. It's probably the way, Brian, you walk in now. You probably must be used to doing this show. Every day you walk in and there is nothing. You're in sync with everything.
Well, sometimes it gets challenging, but I'm not yet there where I'm comfortable.
Still has to go to journalism.
You know, I have to go and study journalism and pay 200,000 shillings. But yeah, we'll get there one day.
NTV will pay that for us.
That's a good...
Yeah, the 200,000 to register as a journalist.
Nchala Konde, we should petition.
Yeah.
Okay, you'll be responsible for those words. It's been awesome. It's been exciting. I've been fiery this morning, and I hope that the morning has also been fiery for you too. And we are proud that we have something to do with your mornings these days. Mabel, always looking dapper. No, girls don't look dapper. Eh?
Yeah.
They look ritzy.
Ritzy.
Again with the designer shoes. You guys, you need to tell me something here. Colors are always matching. Okay. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
No comment.
NTV, turning on your world.
The task that we had ahead of us was to transform Kampala, take it from where it had fallen for so many years, and create a city that we can